Hello everyone, I'm Darren Magee, and today's topic is continuing in the series looking at psychopathy. Today I'll be looking at the common behaviours and characteristics of a husband with psychopathic traits. Now I'm aware that not everyone is married and some relationships are same-sex relationships, so the following could apply to any male with psychopathic traits in a long-term relationship. And just for the sake of this video, I'm going to refer to a husband and wife. But first of all, psychopathy exists on a spectrum. Not everyone who has psychopathic traits is a dangerous criminal, but it is a personality disorder that's characterized by superficial charm, there's a lack of empathy, callousness, impulsivity, and a blatant disregard for other people's rights and feelings. And with psychopathy, there are two subtypes. There's type 1, or primary psychopathy, and type 2, or secondary psychopathy. With type 1 psychopathy, we see low neuroticism, so there is a lack of fear, a lack of anxiety. They can have better impulse control, meaning they can be more calculated and think more long-term. Type 2 psychopaths are higher in neuroticism, and they can be more emotionally reactive. They have poor behavioural control, can act impulsively and make rash decisions. And with psychopathy, quite often we also see very high narcissistic traits as well. So they can be deceitful, calculating and cold, but also very entitled, domineering and highly disagreeable. They treat others as objects to be manipulated, taking advantage of anything or anyone for their own benefit. And in a marriage or a long-term relationship, even a family context, these traits can be deeply harmful. What you have is a partner who feels no remorse, cannot empathise with emotions and sees others primarily as tools just to achieve their own goals. So let's begin. In the early stages of a relationship, we would see excessive charm. He'll shower his partner with compliments, gifts and affection to make them feel loved and valued. However, over time this charm transforms into a form of control and manipulation where he begins to assert control in maybe subtle ways. For instance, this could be monitoring his partner's every move, controlling their resources, and undermining their confidence and self-esteem. He can create a sense of perpetual anxiety and self-doubt in his partner by constantly challenging, threatening, gaslighting, and triangulating. Quite often, the partner is left in a state of hypervigilance, never sure what mood they're going to face when they get home. Now, as the relationship progresses, the partner will see the charm on display, but it's usually for others. By then, she tends to know it's superficial and false, because the reality at home is very different. Sign number 2, he has a problem with anything he considers to be authority. If his wife asks for anything, it could be viewed as an attempt to control him, so she'll be met with resistance. And this often leaks into other areas of his life. For instance, his wife might hear stories about work where he complains others are trying to cheat or control him. But generally, he'll behave as if the rules don't apply to him, and this can lead to unethical behaviour. So this can result in him being unable to hold down a job. Quite often what we see are a series of jobs, rather than a career path. Narcissistic psychopaths tend to struggle with authority and consider it a threat to their independence and autonomy, even whenever their requests are reasonable. So any autonomy or even success on the part of his wife could be viewed as his authority being challenged, so he'll probably try to shut it down, unless of course it is something he could benefit from. Sign number 3 is lying. Now with narcissism we often see lying as a way to exaggerate their importance, their intelligence, their superiority and so on. With psychopathy we see lying as more a means to an end, to get them what they want. Also with narcissism we see lying as a way to avoid accountability. For example, they don't want to lose their house, they don't want to lose their job, they don't want to lose their wife. She is his supply. With type 1 psychopathy, however, the lies aren't out of fear. They just serve a purpose. His wife is useful to him, the job suits him, he wants the power, the status and so on. And with type 1 psychopathy, the lies are more thought out and strategic. With type 2 psychopathy, however, the lies can be more spontaneous and poorly thought out. He can lie effortlessly, even when there's no need to. Number 4 is a parasitic lifestyle. With type 1 psychopathy, he could try to manipulate others and live off their efforts, their ideas and their resources. With type 2 psychopathy, he's more interested in get-rich-quick schemes and scams, rather than having a job. And any money he does get, he spends quite quickly and irresponsibly. He might even end up accumulating a lot of debt. Sign number 5 is if his wife is ill or injured. He could appear cold and emotionless. Even though he may prepare meals for her or assist her, he has no sympathy for her due to his lack of emotion. His only concern is how her being incapacitated affects him. Now, depending on the individual, he may refuse any kind of support to her. He may even demand that she continues on as usual regardless of how she is incapacitated. In some relationships, in order to get any kind of support, she may have to offer something in return, because any emotional appeal will just fall flat. And if he does ask how she is, it's not out of concern, but more about whether or not she's able to manage by herself again. Next, he can get bored quite quickly. Nothing really holds his attention for long. Type 2 psychopaths tend to be high neuroticism and lack emotional regulation, so there can be a lot of sensation-seeking behaviours, which usually end up causing even more distress. So he may engage in risk-taking behaviours, become involved in criminal activities, or even have multiple affairs. He may try to talk his wife into engaging in some of those activities as well, but become angry if she refuses. Which leads me on to the next one, and that's dominance, and this can manifest in different ways. It could involve threats, it could involve physical or verbal acts of aggression, and here we would see the sadistic side of him. He could escalate a minor disagreement to an explosive level just to terrorize and dominate. Now, with type 1 psychopathy, there would be a fearlessness around consequences, so he never backs down, not with her, not with anyone. He is the alpha. And in the early stages of a relationship, he may have isolated his partner, making her dependent on him, and he withholds or threatens to withhold resources just to keep her in line. In his mind, he may even actually fantasize about what he could do, or even threaten to do it, though not carry it through. Though again, it's not necessarily because he's bluffing or because he fears the consequences. It's more that the consequences don't suit him. Now, that being said, in extreme cases, those who know him well enough, they know and fear what he's capable of. Which leads me on to the last sign, and that's criminality. This is more part of the antisocial side of psychopathy. Now, not necessarily that he's a violent master criminal, like the psychopaths you see portrayed in movies, but again, the sensation-seeking, the belief that rules don't apply to him, can lead to him repeatedly breaking rules and sometimes the law. Now, this could include fraud, theft, vandalism, and so on. And the more he gets away with it, what you often see is the nature and seriousness of the criminal activity both vary and escalate over time. Now, he'll expect his wife to be okay with his criminal activity. He may even expect or demand that she take part in it. But even if he doesn't include her, he'll still expect her to cover for him or take the blame for him if he's caught. So in summary, although not all people with psychopathic traits are violent or abusive, the impact of their emotional manipulation, their lack of empathy, can be deeply harmful for those around them. An environment where there is a lack of regard, callousness, and constant lying can have long-lasting detrimental effects on those closest to them. An emotionally unstable environment where other people's experiences are dismissed, ignored, or punished can cause depression, anxiety, and living in constant vigilance. And in a family where there is a psychopathic parent, the children can struggle with emotional regulation, trust, and in some cases even begin to develop antisocial and impulsive traits of their own. So, that's a brief outline of just some of the characteristics of a husband with psychopathic traits. As always, if there's anything I've missed, please use the comments section. There are some interesting conversations start from these videos. But if you find this topic to be helpful or interesting, please consider subscribing, and until next time, thanks for watching.